The slot receiver position at Ohio State has been such a productive, high-usage spot in Ohio State's offense for the past decade. Multiple slot receivers have broken single-season records for catches. Its all-time leader in catches was a slot receiver in K.J. Hill, and then another slot receiver broke that record in Emeka Egbuka. Its single-season catch record was set by Paris Campbell, a slot receiver, and then broken by another slot receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And so we're thinking, hey, Brandon Inniss is just the next in line to be a high-usage wide receiver at the slot position. He has 5 catches so far through 3 games, and he did not have a single catch against OU the last time Ohio State played football. They've got 2 weeks to figure some things out. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, that's Andrew. Given the way that Brian Hartline, the offensive coordinator, was talking on Tuesday when we got Day, the coordinators, do we need to revise our expectations for what the slot receiver in terms of a production standpoint is going to be in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, expectations like for stats, yeah, maybe I said coming into the year that it was going to be Jeremiah Smith leading the team in receptions and yards, and then in receptions, Brandon Inniss was going to be second. And as you kind of see it go through the season, I think one thing that maybe we didn't take into account is, yes, the slot receiver position is massive in Ohio State's offense, but think about the guys that have been in there, right? Like you talk about Emeka, he was the team's second best receiver last year. He was the most experienced guy in that group. Whereas this year, you're looking at Carnell, who's got more experience in game reps to Brandon Inniss. You're talking about Jeremiah Smith, who's more talented than Brandon Inniss. And sometimes in that pecking order, maybe the slot guy is not going to be the second or the first, best receiver on this offense. And what can he do in different ways? And I think Brandon Inniss, the way Brian Hartline talked about him, is doing everything he needs to do away from what you see in the box score, right? Like blocking, even just running a good route does a good thing because, Ryan Day was talking about one of the deep shots they took to Jeremiah Smith in that game against Ohio, and it starts with Carnell Tate being in motion, but then Brandon Inniss coming across took the tension away from the safety and opened it up for Jeremiah Smith. So if you look beyond the box score, I think Brandon Inniss is still making an impact on his team. Brian Hartline certainly thinks that. Ryan Day certainly thinks that. So if you want to revise the quantity of receptions and yards that you think Brandon Inniss is going to have, I think that's fair to where we were maybe in August. But in terms of his impact and importance to this team, I don't think it changes all that much.
What is the job description based on the way Brian Hartline was talking about the slot receiver that Brandon Inniss will have as the starter there?
It's an interesting dynamic because I think the job description is to be good enough when needed. I think that's probably where you're at right now because you mentioned Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah he's the best receiver in the country. You've got another first-round pick in that receiving core with Carnell Tate, right? The way that we have talked about tight ends, like on this channel, on the podcast, the way that these coaches talk about tight ends, if you want to put 2 tight ends on the field, Inniss is coming off, right? You're probably taking a slot receiver off the field. So, how does that work? And I think what you need from Inniss is you need him to be the guy where you might not get but 3 targets a game, 2 targets a game, but we need you over the middle in that very specific spot. We need you to do the little things right. And I was thinking as Brian Hartline was talking today, maybe this is just because I was on the beat and it was my first year. It sounded a little Julian Fleming-y to me when he was talking about Brandon Inniss, because what are some of the things that we talked about with Fleming was he's a great blocker. He does the little things well. He gets open. He's never really out of position. And he basically draws people away for Emeka and for Marv. And that was the conversation that we were having about Julian Fleming. Now, obviously, Julian Fleming, he had some injuries. He went to Penn State. There were some other things. And I know people are going to be maybe upset with that just because they look at what Julian Fleming's career was kind of as it curtailed. And they go, oh, well, he wasn't really that good. And you're saying Brandon Inniss stinks. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that there is this level of Fleming was really, really good in spots and really, really good at a very specific role. And I'm starting to wonder if Brandon Inniss just needs to be, kind of very good in very specific roles like that for Ohio State.
I think Brandon Inniss is better than Julian Fleming.
I agree.
I think an example I would use is in 2020 and Jamison Williams didn't get the ball at all here. And then he went down to Alabama. And it's like, well, what the heck? Why didn't he do that last year? Well, because you played 8 games. Mm-hmm. And Garrett and Chris are awesome.
If Brandon Inniss went to Penn State, he would be more impactful than Fleming when he went to Penn State.
And so I think it's making me go the other way. I asked Brian Hartline, did you think he had a good game even if he didn't have a catch? And he said yes, because what if his job description was in that game? That doesn't mean, he also said that doesn't mean that's going to be his job description every game. That was Fleming's job description every game. That was J-Mo's job description every game. Run down the field and get out the way. That's not Brandon Inniss' job. I'm thinking more of, you're talking about the established veterans of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Okay, that's what Jackson Smith and Jigba walked into with Chris and Garrett. And guess who had the record by the end of the year? Now, 30 of those catches came in games where either Chris didn't play either Garrett didn't play or Chris and Garrett didn't play. But still, he was productive. The Michigan State game, all three of them had over 100 yards. So I think what happened is they did a bunch of tight end stuff. And you're right. He's going to be the guy when they go 12 personnel who comes off the field. Are they going to do a bunch of tight end stuff every single game? Right? He's even talking about, right, I don't know if we're going to do 13 and 14 and 12 personnel every game. There are going to be a lot more games where they can do 11. And if you wanted to just get stuff out there, tinkering the way you were in the first half where you're doing I formation on first down from the 40-yard line, okay, then there maybe wasn't room for Brandon Inniss to get some touches. And then you also didn't throw the ball the only other game you played against a competitive opponent so far. You're going to play Washington. Guess what they're going to try to do? 4-17 can't be the reason we lose. Okay, that means Max Clare gets – we saw Max Clare get involved more last game, right? Okay, fine. You want to take away 4-17 on the outside? Guess who Julian Sand's going to hit? Number 1 across the middle. That's exactly what happened with Jackson Smith and Jigba, where teams – decided, no Garrett, no Chris. Okay, I'm better than both of them. Just give me the ball and I'll do something with it. So I don't know if he's going to be second on the team in receptions. But I don't know if I thought he was going to have 65 catches at the beginning of the year, now I think he's going to have 35, which is where Julian Fleming often lived. Now it's like, okay, he doesn't have 65, maybe he has 50 or 55 catches, because I just think what they were trying to get done offensively after the Texas game didn't lend itself to 3 wide receivers all being awesome in the same game. It lent itself to JJ's JJ, Carnell is Carnell, and then let's just figure out what else we have outside of that. And now when they play Washington after 2 weeks, we'll see what this offense really is going to be going forward. Because 11 wasn't the issue. It was let's figure out 12 and 13 and 14. So teams have a lot to worry about just for us to go 11 against you. And then Julian's going to throw it all around the yard. Because you got to be able to run the ball too. That does matter. Get the text 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Bye week for Ohio State. They will be back a week from now at 3:30 Eastern time on CBS to play Washington. All 3 of us will be at that game. But in the meantime, we're all going to take a quick breath. Shout out to you. You know, just commit with me. You know what I'm saying?
We're
commit with me. Commit with me. See, Brad, the 3 receivers are starting to all bring it together. Go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. Ohio State's off week is officially here. I'm Steven. That's Stefan. That's Andrew. Talk to you later.